Hi, I'm Anna.
And I'm Carolyn, and we're two sisters who love handcrafting and figuring things out.
Welcome. This is episode 5 of the Curious Crafters, and we are recording on Monday, January or June. It's one of the J months.
One of the J months, you pick.
June 27th, and we will be releasing this in July. Carolyn and I are going to be apart from each other for a couple of months this summer, so we're getting creative about how to make our episodes.
Yeah, how to keep it going.
It's been really fun to think about possibilities.
Just you wait and see what we have in store. All right, you want to start with some updates on the SAL?
Okay, yes. All right, so we have our Schools Out Stitch Along coming along, and I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of people who are stitching and using that hashtag on Instagram. The first of whom is Michelle. She is Michelle on Del Mar on Instagram, and she's doing a piece called Turtles All the Way Down by Ink Circles. And it's turtles stacked on top of each other. Super cute. I think she's done about 5 turtles now, and each of the turtle shells is a different color and has a different design in the shell.
I love that it's a different design. Definitely go check it out. It's a really cute design. It's fun to watch her progress as she adds new turtles.
Right. So keep adding those turtles, Michelle. And then the second person is Stacy, Scissor Hands SAL. Scissor Hands SAL. Anyway, Stacy is working on Christmas Garden by Blackbird Designs. The colors are just so gentle and sweet. And she has her top right corner done, a couple of vases, sort of a Christmas style tree, a reindeer. The border has these red berries on it. It's just, she's done a nice chunk.
Mm-hmm. So
anyone's welcome to join in anytime over the summer, and we're using, again, Schools Out SAL as the hashtag.
Yeah, great. And if you're not on Instagram and you've been working on it and just want to give us a little comment or send us an email to let us know what you've been working on and how your progress is coming along.
That's a good idea.
Okay, it is my ring that keeps hitting that. Okay,
I'm
taking it off. Ring off. So we want to kind of keep the tradition of toasts going. We're going to give it a go. Sometimes it's going to be a big event like babies or wedding, and other times that toast might just be for something about life or small. Today we're going to toast again with a really nice NorCal IPA. Other times we're going to have different kinds of beverages. It's not always going to be alcoholic. We don't drink that much alcohol, so every time we film, we're going to be like drinking it up.
Notice our small glasses.
I know. We split one, and my kids laugh at me because I can take like all evening because I just like that bitter taste of beer. So it's almost like sipping a fine wine. And sometimes I don't even finish like the entire thing.
Right.
All right. So today we'd love to toast our sister Joan. And Joan is our oldest sister, and I consider myself a crafts person. Do you consider yourself a crafts person?
I do.
Okay, Joan is an artist. And I don't know how to distinguish those two, but I just feel whenever I see what she does and the way she goes through life, she's an artist. One thing I really appreciate about Joan is our family is huge, and a lot of times we get together with big family functions, and it's so easy just to be part of a big group, but Joan always makes an effort to go around and have some type of personal one-on-one or small group time with everybody in the whole group.
Or do a little activity.
And so I think that's really special that you can tell that she really loves everybody, and you feel loved when she is taking her time with you. So that's great.
Yeah, she's really good at it.
And she
also dives deeply into anything whether it's something new to her or whatever, she goes for it. And I have a really sweet example from a long time ago. So when she was a teenager, she was like, I think I'm gonna learn how to embroider. And I used to just really, I still do, but I admire her, and I would sit on her bed and like watch her and listen to her music. So she embroidered a jean shirt for me.
Yeah.
Holly Hobby, which was very popular in the 70s. This is a Levi's jean shirt. Look at the color, you all. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
I wish it still fit me.
I don't know if you're of our generation, if you remember the Levi's store. Remember you'd go there and they have all their jeans and cords stacked up by size, and you'd go in and like pick your color cord.
It was so exciting because maybe we got a pair of pants once every couple of years, because we added a lot of trim to the end of our jeans.
Our mom was very,
keep them
very
going.
frugal about how many clothes we had growing up. So isn't that incredible?
So here's a great example of Joan just going for it. I think she just taught herself to embroider, and I don't know how she got the design, whether she just like drew it with a pencil or what she did. But thank you, Joan. I still love it.
So the reason we're toasting Joan is she was out visiting, and we recorded a little segment with her that you'll see later in today's episode. So thank you, Joan, for being part of our FlossTube and letting us film your interview. So you'll get to see Joan later in the episode. All right, Joan, here's to you. We love you.
Love you. Get a little mustache from my ear. All right, so let's move to what are we wearing?
Great.
And what are you wearing, Carolyn?
I'm wearing the Tilly top, and again, you'll see it better when we do our catwalk. It is just a yoke shape, very kind of cropped and loose, and it's knit out of a linen yarn called Sparrow by Quince & Co. And this yarn, I knit like 2 other tops out of it, and there was something about each one that was like, frog. Frog in knitting is just when you rip everything out. One like really skewed on the bias, just all this stuff, and I was about to get rid of the yarn, like destash it, and I pulled out, I'm like, let me just try this top. And I'm so glad I did it. Knit up really quickly. Any linen tries to like grow, so I'll wear it a couple of times, and it kind of gets a little larger. I just throw it in the washer and dryer, shrinks it up a little bit, and wear it again.
Longer, or it grows in every way?
It grows in every way. A longer, and then since it's oversized, it also gets, I think it's mainly longer.
Because I'm always hoping for that.
You're probably like, I have to wear it a few times before. So again, California, we're just always layering, and it just a little bit of layer on top of anything you're wearing.
Yeah, I'm glad we'll do the catwalk because I want everyone to see sort of the laciness of it.
It has it's kind of hard to see. It has a little bit of a lacy yoke. Right now, knitting yoke style is really in. A lot of people are knitting yoke sweaters and putting some sort of decorative element, either lace or color work or something here. And I like the yoke. I feel like it's really open and easy to wear. The designer of this, she's designed a lot of sweaters. If you're a knitter, definitely check her out. And it's This Bird Knits. That's her design name. I know, isn't that cute? This Bird Knits.
Very cute. All right.
How about you, Anna?
Pretty. And I'm just going to say one more thing. I like the way your collar is popping out from that yoke.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, I am wearing a pattern called the Gabby Dress by Tessuti. Unfortunately, the pattern is not available anymore.
Really?
And I just find it to be the most beautiful basic dress. It's an A-line dress, which again, you'll see on the catwalk, in another floaty rayon, yet again from our local store, Needle Studio. And I added length to this, but it's still a little bit short. I do wear it by itself sometimes, and I often wear it with some skinny jeans underneath it, so I can wear it either way. I think that's about it. So if I think it's a pattern I will make again. This is the only one I've made so far, but I will add even more length.
So Anna, what do you do? Sewing patterns is the same thing, like sometimes, because knitting patterns are almost always available because almost all of them are PDF. Was this just a hard copy pattern? Is it older, or what makes a sewing pattern go out?
Yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that, and I don't know how old it is. I made it maybe 2 years ago. Trying to think if I had a paper pattern or a PDF. And maybe I'm mistaken, but when I searched for it here before the episode, I couldn't find it. There's a blog post, and I think it said this pattern is not available.
Oh.
So I think a lot of pattern companies have gone to either paper or PDF, but maybe they're not turning all the paper patterns into PDF patterns.
This is one of my favorites. I think in particular, I just love the fabric. And when you see the catwalk, it is really, really flowy for that. So really nice. Great. All right, so we'll go ahead and insert our catwalk here. Show us the bean bag.
All right, we have a fully finished object, and that is...
We, as in...
Well, we're
a team. We're a team.
Exactly. This is my first little pillow. I don't know if I call it a pillow or a pin cushion, although I don't think I'm ever going to go back from using a magnetic pin cushion or really a bean bag, because it feels like a bean bag. Boop. Anyway, I had so much fun stuffing this little summer bower from Modern Folk Embroidery.
And Anna, what did you stuff it with?
Let me have some visual aids.
Okay, nice.
Reach for them.
Oh, Anna, she does have some visual aids.
Yes. First of all, I watched several Vana videos and then read an article from this magazine that Carolyn lent to me. And I also watched some things about getting a nice point on a collar in the sewing world, because the corners of project bags and pillows are a little bit of I'm determined to be able to get a square corner. And, well, first of all, I'm jumping ahead. Vana suggested using this interfacing called Shape Flex. So I ironed this interfacing onto the back of both the linen and the backing fabric. That went well, easy. It adhered really easily. And then I thought, I've always wanted to try these ground walnut shells as the stuffing. And I really, 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 really like the feel of them. I am going to do more of this.
I love the amount of stuffing, because when you see it, it's not, I don't feel like it's overstuffed. So you really can see the full design, but it feels, I would just want to be like holding this in my hand.
Yeah.
You know? It's like a weighted blanket. You can take a nap and have that as like your weighted blanket.
That's a good comparison. Yeah, there's something very pleasing about its weight for me. Well, so the technique that I tried on the corners, and I think I want to try it again, is, will you make sort of a 90-degree angle
of course
with your
I will.
fingers? Thank you. So if this is a corner, you know how you usually trim your corner kind of like this. The technique I tried was actually doing a sewing line at a 45-degree angle, and the sewing line should actually go inside of the triangle. It said for lightweight fabrics, just have one sewing machine stitch inside the triangle. For more heavyweight fabrics, have as many as 3 sewing machine stitches, so bring down the diagonal a little bit. And I think that's what I didn't do. I don't think I was sort of chicken to bring the diagonal down too much. So next time I make one of these, because by the time these were interfaced, they did feel a little bit like heavier weight fabrics. So I'm going to be a little bit more bold with my diagonal. And I'm not sure, I still don't quite understand how it works, except for I think maybe you're not really poking out the actual corner. I think it must bend at the diagonal, kind of like this. Anyway, I'm going to play with that some more.
That would also be one where you could just do a few, like cut out some fabric, don't make a real pillow, like, or don't use your cross stitch, and then just bring it down and see how far you can bring it down.
Exactly what I'm going to do.
But you know, your corners are rounded, but they look nice to me. Like maybe it might be something that you never get a fully crisp corner.
However, in the sewing world, people do get an actual point on a collar.
That's a good point.
So I'm not displeased with this. I think it looks fine. You're
curious to get a point.
I'm curious, and I feel pretty determined.
Yeah, good. You go, Anna.
I feel pretty determined. I want to mess with that. And I even thought, like, maybe I'd like to make some pillows that actually have a slanted. Fauna will hate that. She likes the good point. Anyway, I want to experiment more with pillow corners.
I love it. Anna, you did such a great job.
Thank you.
And it's inspiring. I feel like I'm still a little intimidated. I'm not really a person that gets too intimidated.
No.
I'm a little intimidated about the sewing part of finishing. So when we get back from our traveling, I'm going for it. And I might have to come over to your house and go for it over there.
Sure.
Anna, so great.
Thanks.
Great.
It was really, really fun. Okay. So we have some progress to show too.
Yeah, why don't we do this, that, just so we go every other.
Sure. So you're up first?
Yeah, I'll go first. All right. So here I am. I keep working on the Seasons of a Heart, and now I've moved on. It's by Brenda Gervais, and I've moved on to the summer version of the pattern. I was really hoping, I was like, okay, I'm totally into like special starts. So I'm like, summer solstice, perfect. I'm going to start summer on summer solstice, and then we had like a heat wave. It was 102, and like, there's no way I'm starting anything. So I started a couple of days afterwards. It's in my
fan yourself.
One of my bags. I think this is, I don't like to have favorites, but I think this one might be one of my favorites.
I agree with
I love
that.
the fabric. And here we are.
Oh, you've done a lot. Wow, Carolyn.
Yeah. Fold this just a little bit. And I'm using the same fabric as I used for spring, and the fabric is Needle and Flax's Thornfield, 36 count. I know you have to wait for her fabric. I'm gonna go, I love Thornfield so much. It's such a nice, very light white, but has just a tiny bit of modeling. I think I'm gonna like go for it and order like a half yard and just
How about a yard? Let's get a yard.
Maybe just go a yard.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling it's gonna be really versatile, and the linen is really nice, and just know it's probably not gonna come till the fall for this. I'm using all the called for DMCs and over dyed cottons and stitching one strand over 2 threads. Oh. This one it's just been really, really enjoyable. It makes me feel like blueberries.
Is it more than one color blue, or it's just the variegated?
There are 2 blues.
Okay.
There are 2 blues in the blueberries. Let me show you my floss. This is the floss that I have. I've added.
Oh yeah, they're really nice.
This first time I've added some bling. I think I showed this last time. Let me tell you, just like the feeling of I love the feel of this. You pick it up and it has a little jingle. There's a little weight to it. Sometimes when I'm hanging it over like my sofa arm, I just use that as the weight. So it's sort of hanging like
counterweight
that.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, as I move my floss, I don't know. I'm really digging it. So I think I'm going to keep my eye out for more of these types of things and maybe add a few more to my collection. And this is from Sampling of Memories for that. So.
Do you mind if I show you the back of this?
Not at all.
Because I have a sort of funny story.
Okay.
I'd heard references to railroading in cross stitching, and I thought that meant when you had lines like this on the back of your cross stitch, people said, "Oh, railroad," to make a neat X.
Oh, okay. What does it mean?
But what it is if you're using 2 strands to put your needle in between the 2 strands and then pull through, and that helps the 2 strands lay side by side.
What, as you do each stitch?
Yeah.
You're putting it in between?
So I guess you kind of just get used to that.
Oh, you mean
So
like
it's just so funny,
as you're going in the hole, is it the 2 strands of a stitch that's already there? Or is it?
No, it's the, wait, yeah.
Okay.
I saw a video of it.
Oh, okay. So railroading.
How would that be?
I know it's interesting when I sew in hand, sometimes I get those vertical lines, and that's when I'm going all in one direction and then coming back. Whereas if I'll get like a cross in the back, depending if I do the full stitch at one time. So,
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed these very much. I'm going to definitely do fall and winter, and we're super excited because Katie Strachan, who does some silk conversions and kits, she's announced that her July kit is she's going to do one for the winter for this. So we'll go all in for that one. So that should be fun.
I just want to say one more thing about this. I like the waving flag.
Yeah.
I think that is
It's really
really effective.
It
It
is
really
really
looks
effective.
like that flag is in motion to my eye.
Yeah.
I'm appreciating that.
Yeah. These stars, I also changed the color of those. They were supposed to be like the white and the flag, and my linen is lighter, I think, than the called for it, and they just weren't going to show up. So I just went for the very light gold that's in the windows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's summer.
Great. And I have worked a little bit more on this Hantuk sampler from Threadwork Primitives. And we'll put in a progress picture, but I was sort of down at the bottom and I've come up the side.
Oh, okay. Can't wait to see it, Anna.
And here.
You have done so much, Anna. Okay, so hold that for a minute and we're going to insert a progress photo right here over my face.
So I really just have, will you hold it for a second, please?
Of course.
This,
Pull up that pointer, get the pointer out.
Boop. This is a pretty big motif. And then it's just the alphabet. I'm looking forward to doing a little alphabeting, and that'll be done. And look, my threads are getting a little skimpy. I think they'll each hold out, but.
Isn't it kind of a cool feeling though, as you're using your palette of threads, you can feel it changing as you're stitching and thinking all of that is now on here. I'm looking at your back. Oh, your back looks good.
I stitch different types of things in different ways. So my backs are not particularly neat.
I don't know what it is about the backs. Anna, this is just really turning out. It's interesting I've always loved it, but as you add more and more motifs. How are you feeling about the colors? I feel like you were sort of on the fence a little bit.
I like this a lot. I like its references to the Pennsylvania Dutch symbols. Yeah, I think I would shift the colors a little bit if I did it again.
Do you know how you would shift them?
I think there's something to my eye that I like it, but I'm not like drooling over it. I really had to figure out how the date went, and finally I realized it's like boop, 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 boop.
I am very
down and then across.
Well, the beauty of 2022 is you can read it because I read it in a circle. I read it 2022.
Yeah, on the pattern I figured it was probably 1824.
And so bold of you, Anna, to put the year date.
I know. I thought of that too. I'm like, should I save the date until the end? Because it could be 2023 or 2024. But yeah, if I have to take it out, I will.
Yeah, if you have to pick out that other two. But I know you're going to finish this.
I think I will. In fact, I think I'll finish it in the next couple of days.
Have you thought about how you're going to fully finish that one?
Yeah. We're going to talk about a field trip that we took a little bit later in
an idea about
the video. But we were really inspired. One place we went, there were very simple acrylic shelves, like floating shelves on a wall. And there were many pieces of handwork. It was sort of just like the front of a flat fold. So it had been
maybe just been laced or however.
And they were sort of, there were these collages sort of stacked on top of each other. I thought that was absolutely beautiful. And I can see myself getting something like almost an invisible floating shelf and then just stacking sort of, or in a bookshelf. So I'm probably going to lace this and probably prop it in a bookshelf for now.
Yeah. And none of them were framed. I mean, I think you could do frames, although you probably want to do pretty thin frames. But it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
all right, you have one more, right?
Yeah, I have one more, and this is one. I haven't started it, but I'm all ready to start, and I'll probably be starting it in the next couple of days. And this is, I'm calling it my silk exploration. I watched Katie Strachan. It was called her Specialty Thread Tutorials Part 1. Oh, just a quick reminder, we'll have links to everything in the show notes, and you can link to our show notes in the description box to be there. And what her specialty threads, she just went, it was like a class. I've watched it like 1.5 times, and I'm gonna keep watching it. I even took some notes, but she went through all the different silk threads and how they're different, how they're similar, how can you stitch with them. So I decided I wanted to experiment with these myself. So what I did is I got a variety of different silk threads, all in a similar color palette. Oh, fail! Nailed it. I was trying to
hold these.
Okay. And what I have is I have 2 spools of 103, 2 spools of Gobelin, 1 spool of Paris, which is stranded, and then I'll hold these up. 2 different colors. This is Soie d'Agé, and then MPI silk. She didn't talk specifically about MPI silk. She was talking about the soie line, but I love MPI silk, so I wanted to use those in a comparison. And if you can see my color palette, we have our friend right here. It's a color I really like, and so sort of falling off the idea of reds, but more orangey reds. So what I'm going to do with these silks is I want to do my exploration on 2 different linens. I'm going to do it on a 36 count linen, and this is Lakeside Linen Vintage Porcelain 36. And my other one, 40 count. I'm going to try 40 count.
Yep.
And I figure this is the perfect time to do it. And this is Fox and Rabbit's Mayflower. So I have 2 pieces here. I'll do the 36 and then the 40 to compare the silks. And what I'm going to do is I took Modern Folk Embroideries. This is his monkey, the Bristol Monkey sampler. And I'm going to do these bands. So I'm going to do the 36 count fabric. I'm going to do the band coming down here, and each band I'll use a different silk for that. So hopefully you'll really be able to see some of the differences. And then on the 40 count, I'm going to do this band over here.
Now, are you thinking this purely as exploration, or do you think these will be finished pieces? Or will you fully finish them? Or you maybe don't know?
Yeah,
yet?
what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about these as my silk samplers for the silk. And so I'm thinking about maybe finishing them with a hem stitch. So it's something you can pick up or maybe not put on the wall, but do a sampler. And then I'm also recording as I'm going along which of the silks I'm using and how many strands. I think for most part, I'm going to use just 1 strand on the 36 and the 40, depending, or the thinnest one, and Katie goes through all this, the thinnest one is the 103. And I might, depending on how it stitches up, I'll first do 1 strand, and then for the second spool, depending, I might do 2 strands as a comparison for that. So really excited.
Methodical of you.
I know. The mathematician in me is like
it's
really
very Carolyn.
coming out.
I can't wait to hear your observations, and so definitely tell us about them as you go.
I'll keep this going. If you're at all interested in learning more about silk threads, I highly recommend this tutorial that she's put out. I think it's part 1, so I'm guessing she's going to do a part 2. And on part 2, I think she's going to talk about how she'll take a pattern and do the silk conversion for herself. I think she has her own sort of stash of silks, and she'll take a pattern that she wants to stitch and we'll convert it to her colors. I think that's what the second part's going to be. Okay, so that's a plan, and I'm probably going to be starting that in the next couple of days.
Okay, great. Put something on Instagram when you start, will you?
I will. Yeah, I will. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Speaking of starting,
and modern folk embroidery,
and modern folk embroidery, for our We're Curious About section, we are curious about how to restart something that is sort of stalled out. Still like it, enjoyed it when you were doing it, it's been tucked away for a while, and our example is the Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 Stitch Along, the Fruit of Plenty. Here is the design in 2 colors. Carolyn and I are both doing 1 color, and we are going to hold up what we have done and just talk a little bit about how we're going to get started again. You want to hold up yours?
Sure. I'll start. We just started this like so gung-ho. I was so committed. I'm like, every month I'm going to keep up, and I just found it was, especially, I think I had only been, this is like really my 2nd piece. I had just been stitching.
We were both pretty new to cross stitching.
Very new, and I think I'm still like more of a tortoise than a hare in stitching.
Really? I put you somewhere in between. I'm definitely a tortoise. Okay.
All right, so here is my progress so far.
So pretty.
And it is funny, we both stalled out, and I had it packed away, and I hadn't gotten it out probably in a few months, and I got it out, I'm like, girl, what is your problem? I love it. I love it. And what I did for this is I was very interested in trying indigo dyeing. So I've dyed this fabric myself with indigo dyeing. And I'm just going to talk very briefly about the process, and I'll be putting some photos in to see. What I used for this is Kristen Vahar. She is the owner of Verb for Keeping Warm, a store we talked about in Oakland, and this is her book. And it's, if you're at all interested in modern dyeing, natural dyeing, this is the book to get. And she has a whole section on dyeing with indigo. So really great instructions on how to do it. And the Verb for Keeping Warm also had all the supplies, the dye stuffs and everything I needed. So I set up dye bin. It was in the winter time because this was starting, I think it was probably over winter break from school. And I had this whole dye thing set up. We have like sort of just, we live in an open floor plan and we're sitting in like the room. It has like the kitchen, the living room, the dining room, all big one room. And I have it all set up here and you'll see the vat, indigo vat.
Or wasn't it Thanksgiving? Was it even before? Were you prepping for the start of it?
I think it was prepping, and I'm pretty sure I did the dyeing in December.
Okay.
When I went back to look at the photos, and I think it was over winter break for this. But we were probably talking about it over Thanksgiving. And indigo dyeing is really interesting in that the dye doesn't bind with the molecules. It stays on the surface, and that's why if you have anything indigo, like your jeans, it fades in color over time. And with indigo, it's really specific, but you dip it in the vat and you leave it there for just a brief amount of time. And when you pull it out, you know you're oxidized properly if it comes out green. And then as soon as it hits the oxygen, it turns blue.
Amazing.
It's really, my first vat that I set up didn't come out green, so I knew it wasn't right. So I had to actually do a lot of experimenting to get it to work. And then the number of times you dip it is how dark your fabric goes. So this is sort of a medium denim, and I think I dipped it maybe 10 or 11 times.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'll have putting pictures on as we go along.
The color is just, I mean, like I've never seen linen this color.
It's such a
really
rich. If you're at all interested, I totally recommend trying it. It's fairly non-toxic. I don't think I had to wear a mask. Maybe just when I was mixing a little bit of the dye stuffs for this. And in Japan, like where they have indigo masters, a town will have an indigo vat, and people like once a year will bring their indigo items and re-dip them to kind of keep the fresh indigo on top. So that's the story of the linen. And then for my thread, I just wanted a white on top of that. And I can't tell you, I had no idea there were so many different whites. I must have experimented with like 8 different threads.
We had a lot of conversations.
Oh my gosh, I kept sending Anna a photo like, what do you think of this? She's like, I know. Okay, that's a good one. So we tried 1 thread, 2 threads. I tried wool. At first I was really hoping wool would work because there was something about wool and natural dyed fabric that I thought would be great. I ended up going with the silk, and I went with needlepoint ink. It's one of their very, very, very bright whites. It's their, what's the color? 991 BB, which I think is like bright. So I ended up, once I had that, I got my hank.
I want to hold the hank.
I know, the hank is really awesome. Again, just
so soft.
This flower pot over here, I just can't get enough of. I love that one. So, the vines, Anna, can you point to the vines? You know, we've talked about that. It's the one that's going around the birds. It's more like
up here.
These.
Here, I'm gonna hold it.
Okay, you hold it. Okay, thanks, Anna. These vines right here, it was really hard for me to follow in the pattern, like how to follow the vine. And I'll be interested when I go back to it, how that feels. One thing, I did this all in hoop, with a hoop, and since then I've switched to stitching in hand. And so I'm gonna be curious. I'm gonna just pick it up and go by hand, and it will be interesting to see.
I have the same situation.
The difference with the stitches. So
I'm guessing if we can tell a difference, nobody else is gonna notice it.
Yeah. And if it ends up being like a drastic difference, I'm totally happy to go back to a hoop, I think, for this piece, for that.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, so Anna, what about yours?
Okay, so we had a similar idea in that we were both really interested in a darker fabric with a white thread or a light thread. So I am stitching mine on 32 count charcoal by Zweigart. So I was really, really into it the first 3 months, and I'm finished January, February, March,
that's the first
before the end of each of the months. And I think it maybe is like the first time that something so scheduled really resonated with me. And I'm like, maybe I've changed. But no, it got away from me. And I'm wondering if that's part of the reason why I'm having a hard time going back to it. Is like, it got away from me.
As soon as you said that, that's what happened. Because I'm not sure I was totally on track. Like I was probably maybe I was just finishing each month. But you're right. Once it gets away from you and it's this monthly installment, I think that's why I put it away. Because I kept thinking, I got to catch up. And it became really stressful. It's a really good point.
I don't remember really feeling stressed, but maybe just it felt harder to access or something.
Yeah, okay, stress maybe isn't the right word, but you're right.
Maybe
Maybe
up side by side.
We're almost at the same place. I've done my birds. I think.
Yeah.
Oh, you got some bird heads coming up.
And one thing I want to do, and this is in a moment, we're going to insert a segment of something we taped when our sister Joan was in town, because the three of us started this together.
Yeah.
And when she was working on hers a little bit during the visit, and she taped all of her 8.5 by 11s together for a giant pattern, and she just sort of folds it so that she's just looking at the part. So she made a working copy. Well, this is a PDF, so it's easy to make copies.
Do you think you're gonna do that too?
I am. I'm still like, I can still see my beginnerish part in cross stitch in certain ways. One of those is page overlaps. I understand logically how the page overlaps work. I'm grateful for the designers when there's 3 or 4 sort of grayed out areas, like these are the overlap stitcher. I think it's gonna help me to actually tape them together.
Yeah, I think too, because particularly some of the, and you'll see when we look at Joan's, some of the architectural lines that outline the blocks, sometimes those went month to month. So a whole motif wouldn't finish in a month.
Right.
So I think taping them together, because we're now past all the months, we'll be able to then maybe more think about finishing a full motif.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the month.
I think my brain's gonna like that. I am using a very bright white. It's DMC B5200.
Hey, Coco.
And it takes a lot of skeins. I have a little box.
Oh!
I like the feel of the box.
So let's actually compare our whites.
I think mine is really
oh my gosh.
Really, I
think my gosh.
A lot of stitchers don't like this white because it's just crazy bright. I tried a few DMC, maybe I tried all the DMC whites on this charcoal. I liked the big contrast.
All right, so you have a full skein there of the white.
Right, so.
Let's bring it up closer.
Yeah, it's hard.
It really makes mine look so creamy. So interesting.
Yeah. When I finished January, I thought to myself, this reminds me of lace. I like the lacy effect, and I continue, I think I've said that a few times. I think one of the reasons I like one strand on 32 count linen is that openness feels a little lacy to me.
Yeah.
And I like that look.
Okay, keep talking.
Yeah, and what Carolyn was talking a little bit about, we were new to cross stitch when we started this. I remember the diagonals being so much harder than, and even like the verticals were harder for me than the horizontals, and the diagonals, just figuring out, I was really having to sort of really count and really concentrate. Yeah. And now I can do it almost without thinking. That's a kind of a neat feeling, isn't it?
And I think because I dyed this with indigo, it went from a 32. I think it's like slightly tighter than the 32.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And because it was dark too, I sat down to like do that first row. I practically was crying because I'm like, I don't know where the holes are. I can't see it. I really want to do this project. Like,
were you looking at the strands instead of the holes at first or something like that?
No, we reversed. I was just, what I was looking at for the fabric to try to count before did not work for me at all. And then I just made this shift, and I actually went to looking at the threads. Before I was trying to identify the hole, and now I come up at a vertical thread. And as soon as I did that, my brain, it clicked. But before that, I just was never quite sure. So if you are trying to do linen for the first time and it doesn't click right away, try to just think about your fabric in a different way, or try to look for a different landmark as you're bringing and you might find that clicks.
Yeah. That memory just popped up in my head.
I know. All right. So our sister Joan, wait till you see hers, and we're going to insert a segment of what we filmed when she was out visiting, and we'll insert that now. All right. So Joan, let's take a look at your Fruits of Plenty. So you want to, let's just first show it so you can see. So hers is really different from ours. Just give you like this. Okay, and we'll come back in a minute and show some more details of it. So I'm going to bring it down here. So Joan, kind of how did you get interested in joining us in working on this?
Well, I even though we live kind of across the country from one another, it was you all were talking about doing this, and I think it was you said, you want to join us? And I thought, well, I haven't cross-stitched since I was 12.
I know.
So
it's so funny. But we didn't have any more experience in that, right?
Let me join in something that's this big, right? Why not?
Yeah.
And I got really excited by that. You all sent me a link to the design, and I thought it was just beautiful. I kind of looked through the whole site, all of his
his patterns are amazing.
Patterns are just amazing.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning, and Anna, I actually think you gave me that Christmas. You were my Pollyanna. You know, when we do our sister
I
thing,
gave you the pattern.
You gave me the pattern, and you gave me, I think actually Chris gave me a gift certificate to go get the materials, and there's a wonderful store in Bristol, Pennsylvania.
Is that where you went, Anna, too? We talked about that store before.
This tiny little cross-stitch store, run by these two women. It looks like they've been doing it together forever.
Yeah.
And it is just stock filled with patterns and fabric in every nook and cranny.
That's cool.
And how lucky I was to actually get to go and look for linen. I realized how important that was to me.
Yeah.
I do remember you saying how many different neutrals there were and that you took them all out and
So
compared
when you
them.
did this, did you pick your linen first or did you pick your colors?
I picked my linen first.
You picked your linen first.
Yep,
Okay.
and found that was really, really important. As a matter of
Let's
fact,
see if I can get it up here so we can get a good color. How would you describe that color?
I would say, I mean, I see it as a kind of a neutral with I see a little bit of brown and a little bit of green.
I see a little bit of green.
I call it oatmeal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I totally see it with the green. Do you remember what this linen is?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. I could
I'm so
probably go back and find out. We could put it in the notes.
Yeah, if you find it, we'll put it on. And do you remember what the count is? Do you remember how
It
many?
was 32.
32.
I think we were all
Yeah.
started with 32.
32. And are you doing? You're doing two strands.
I'm doing two strands.
Oh yeah, we all have 32. Right.
Right. But you all did one strand, correct?
Right.
I'm doing
Okay.
one strand.
I'm doing
Yeah,
one strand.
I
also.
like the density and the texture. I'm like
Yeah.
the loft I'm getting of the two strands.
We were talking about this in another video about like one strand versus two strands, and saying that sometimes one strand feels like the design is like with the fabric, and two strands gives you that three-dimensional sort of popping off the fabric, and you definitely get this. Okay, so you picked your linen first.
So pick the linen first, and then Jacob had originally created the design to be one or two colors.
One or two colors.
Yep.
And I think there was something that was calling to me that I needed to do something with more color. And
Yeah.
it actually may be the old the old sampler that hangs at our farm.
Yeah.
And so I started just kind of looking for colors.
Here, hold this up because it shows some different colorways.
I almost always go for kind of a color that's slightly muted.
Yeah, you definitely
and
do.
I intentionally got a smaller piece of the same color because I knew I was going to try it. And so, for instance, that blue kind of peach and yellow corner was where I first started, and then moved over to the one with the greens and the blues.
Yeah.
Which is where I landed. But I
Yeah.
am so glad I took the time to do these tests.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I had, and
It's like swatching and knitting.
I've ended up using maybe about 9 colors, but I think I purchased probably 12 to 14.
You know, because this is pretty too in its own right, but that's not you.
No.
And like when I'm thinking about this piece, I'm not sure it would have looked as good.
Yeah.
In
And
the
I
brighter
actually
shades.
don't think that blue got used.
No. Because you went the dustier blue in here. Yeah.
Like-
so what did you start? Were you doing it sequentially, Joan? Did you start? This was the January block right here. Did
so
you
I
start?
started in January because we all started in January.
Yeah.
So I had to start with the January
Oh,
block.
good point.
Right.
Good point.
And I knew we'd seen the larger picture. It wasn't a SAL where it was going to be a mystery.
True. That's a
right.
good
so we
point.
knew where it was headed.
That's right.
And I had some basic ideas of how I was going to use the color, but wasn't quite sure. So one thing I've done all along is I have not been, is that true? I think I finished January fully. But then realized as I've been going along that I needed to leave some areas blank because a balance was going to have to happen.
Right. And you didn't know that
until
ahead of time.
I got the main story into some of the lower blocks, I wasn't going to know where the balance was going to be needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like one thing you've been debating is this brighter yellow in the berries versus the tan up here in the January block. It's been fun, as Joan has been visiting, to watch her add the colors and watch her decision-making process and to hear her debates and to weigh in on, what do you think? You're going to keep the bright yellow or not? Here are the two colors, just so you can see them on there.
I actually think I'm going to try the tan down there. I actually think I might need to go get another color. I think something in between there. I think the yellow gives it a brightness, but I think it's too bright.
Yeah.
It's standing out in a way that I don't necessarily want those berries to stand out.
Because in some ways I can see that, because when you put this down, last time I had seen this, you hadn't done those, and my eye went right to them. But I do like how they're brighter than your tan. So I think you're right, something in between, because
up again.
Being in the center.
Yeah. Anna and I were saying how the tan really works for the January because it has a softness. It feels like the cool, but so I think there may be a color being added.
Yeah. So it's fun to watch, as you say, the story unfold.
It's Joan. It's really
we love it,
spectacular.
Joan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I think that's something you and I were talking about earlier too, is that as a creator, my mind enjoys making active decisions as I work.
Right.
I enjoy that idea of not quite knowing where it's going to go and trusting that it's going to unfold, and always having to relook and rethink, and then you put something in it, it's like, oh my gosh, there it is. That's what I was missing.
Yeah, and I like how you said you're leaving some open spots, because you might find as you incorporate colors, you want to go back, or to really balance it, you're going to want to go back.
And I took a quilt class one time, and the instructor said something like, if you don't like your quilt at a particular stage, just think, like, what do you want to take away, or what do you want to add to try to fix it? Like, don't get caught up in like, oh, I don't like this anymore. And I feel similar to this.
And would that person have advocated, like, okay, figure out what you don't like about it? Would you have ripped it out, or would you say, okay, as you're moving forward, add in what you think is missing?
Maybe it was more the second, but I guess I would argue sometimes it's worth going back to take something out. But
I find the older I get, the more patient I become.
Yeah.
And I find more and more, I say, wait, no, that needs to come out, or it is also good. All right, it's in there. How do I make it work?
I'm having a laugh. First of all, I hope our volume's going to be okay when we're putting this up. So if not, we're just gonna wing it. I love how it matches your shirt.
Oh
I know.
your
Yep. So it matches all my colors.
Yeah.
So anyway, and when in doubt, if I'm feeling like I just need to stitch and not think, I go to Vines.
Yeah, you've done your Vine.
we're Team Vine.
Yeah,
we're Team Vine.
I'm like filling all day. I like too how you've been outlining your other hexagons and your different blocks, so you're getting just sort of like your canvas all in place for that.
Yeah.
Joan, in particular, I love this. I mean, I love this block, but yours is spectacular. Now I noticed on this you have a couple of these little blue. Are there berries there? Or?
There are berries there, and I
They're
think
down
actually I do love the addition of the dark blue berries there. I think they're going to stay. I'm realizing that dark blue is so strong, it needs to be in small sizes.
Little tiny berries.
So, but it's really
Are those
fun.
blueberries new on the fruit bowl on this one?
No, they were there, but I was. Again, if we're talking about balance, the other two top squares had blue. I was feeling like that one had to have blue. But when I put those two down, I'm going like, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. And are there berries there in the design?
Yes.
I'm not sure I like the blue.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either. And so
I do.
Or I would almost want the more dusty blue to kind of pick in, because there's so much of the dark, deep red in that block. It's so spectacular.
But that's one of those places where I don't feel like I've made so much commitment.
Of course not.
I would not be afraid to take that out.
Yeah.
And I love a couple things you've done where you reversed your colors. So like here, these two top, you reversed your colors. And then I love those two little birds where you've also reversed the body and wing color.
Yeah.
So I think little things like that, the colors balance, but there's that variation.
Yeah,
That's really nice.
Well,
thank you.
keep going,
Yeah.
and we'll have to.
You have to send us
Yeah.
photos
Yeah.
along the way, and so we can. All right.
And
So
I
the
think I'm
three
just-
of us, are we committed to keep going on this? Okay, Anna.
Yeah.
I know.
Come on, let's get some commitment.
Okay. I
but
just don't
guess
know
on-
if it's like this, if it's the right season for me right this time.
Okay.
I mean, I'm
Okay.
still interested in finishing mine. I'm thinking on it a little bit more.
Okay.
Are you,
Okay.
Carolyn, for sure?
I'm really committed to finishing it, but I
this year. I mean, like
Oh.
well,
this year, I guess I'm committed. I really want to get it out, and I want to be working on it. So whether that means it's done this year,
Okay.
or whatever. But I don't. Right now, it's been sitting in a bag for like 6 months. I
I'll
don't want it to do
commit
that
to
anymore.
getting it out and working on it and seeing what happens.
We should maybe try to do like a Zoom call periodically or something.
And I think I'm making it my summer stitch along.
Oh, this
As
is your
as
Schools
the
Out.
third teacher. My Schools
Joan
Out.
is also a teacher, if we
Yeah.
hadn't mentioned that before. Do you want to also talk about, you've left the space open because you want to personalize it, how you're going to personalize
Yeah,
it?
I'm going to personalize that, and I have joined the grandmother crew. I have my first granddaughter, Sarah June, who is 10 months old, born in August. Last August, and so I think I'm going to put her initials right in there. And actually, one of the last things I've been thinking about, and this will be a big change on the design, is that empty hexagon. It's supposed to be a house.
Oh, this one.
That
okay.
happens to be August. And I'm actually thinking about doing a little bird or something to be June.
I love that idea.
With a bunny.
And,
A little
or
bunny.
a bunny or something.
I
but
love that idea.
I was looking at some of Jacob's smaller. I
pincushion
think it would
birds.
be really important to me
Oh.
to, if I'm going to change something in his design like that, to
keep-
take a motif that he has created and insert it, and just to make it a
Joan,
little bit more
that's
about her.
I love that idea, and you can totally. I'm sure you'll find something
Yeah.
in all his designs.
Yeah, but when I was thinking about it, and then all of a sudden we started counting, I said, "Oh my gosh, that's August."
Yeah.
So anyway,
Neat.
yeah. Thanks
Okay.
for having me. This
All right,
was so
awesome.
fun.
Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks,
Thank you, Joan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time I see Joan's, I think ours are similar in some ways, the choices that we made, and hers is so different and so beautiful, and her sense of color is amazing.
You can see how she was able to do that Holly Hoppy.
That's right.
She was a teenager.
Easy peasy. We said she was an artist, but I don't think we've said yet that she's also a teacher.
Yes, she is also
So,
a teacher. Mhm.
so we'll see what kind of progress she makes this summer.
Yeah, I think she said this on the video, but she's also participating in the Schools Out SAL, and she's going to be focusing on that piece to keep working on that.
Right.
All right, so Anna, now our big question is, I think we're committed to wanting to really finish this. So any ideas of what we should do?
I'm still feeling a little stuck, so I'm happy for any ideas. I think it's one of these things where I just need to power through. Personally, I think like I'm gonna have to tell myself, for 3 Giants games in a row, I want you to just work on the fruit of plenty. What about you?
Yeah, I would love having ideas. Like some people say, certain days of the month, they're going to be like, on the 22nd, I'm going to always be stitching this. Like, I can see the appeal to that, but sometimes like if the day's not right, so I don't know. I'm definitely not going to work on it this summer because I'm going to be traveling for about 7 weeks. So I will be leaving this piece here. So maybe when the school year starts, what we should maybe do is give each other like a challenge or a goal.
Well, I just this might be related to what your idea is, but what about once the school year starts? Occasionally, one of us says, "Tonight we're stitching the Fruit of Plenty," and just going to be out of the blue, and we'll both have to make progress that night.
Okay.
Because we both usually stitch after dinner, right? Is that your usual thing?
Mm-hmm.
But do you mean right now we should give each other a goal?
No, I'll you gave me a goal now, I wouldn't remember. I'd have to be like, I have to go back and watch that video and see what my goal is. So I want to put this away again. And then when I get back from traveling, when we get back, let's sit down. And seriously, any suggestions you have for us, we'd love them because we'll be kind of coming up with our plan then. Do you think you'll do some this summer?
I might. I really want to keep the red deer sampler my big focus. So whether I would want to have 2 biggies, I think I will. No, I'm not gonna say I think. I am going to stitch on this at least one day this summer. I feel like
Okay.
I have to reconnect with it, see how it feels, and that might give me a better idea.
And kind of see what's stitching in hand.
Of what to do.
You know, the other thing that I've seen that might be a possibility for us is if friends are stitching on the same thing, one of them will do like an assignment and say, this month we're gonna do blah, and we'll mark it out on the chart. So we might be something like, this month we're gonna finish this vertical bar. And it can be big, it can be small, but it's a,
Okay,
it's a specific
I'm gonna write that
thing.
down. I like that.
Because we're about at the same place, we might do something. And one thing I liked, and I might do it, you can see from Joan's, and we talked about this, is she put a lot of her, I call it the architecture in place. And so we may find we want to do some of that too to begin with, because then you have a little bit more luxury of moving around and doing different motifs.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's hard for me. I always get nervous that I'm going to make a mistake when I do that, because when I stitch something, I often look up and down and next to, I like to have more than one reference point. And when I'm solely counting, so when you're getting the framework away from all the motifs, that starts making me feel like I could be one off, which I guess that would be a lesson in itself of just dealing with that.
And I think the nice thing about a lot of the infrastructure, you would know pretty quickly if you were off, because it's not going to match up for some of the things.
That's true.
So.
That's true. That makes me feel better.
Okay. So please, we'd love to hear ideas from you, but I think we're both committed. We do want to finish it. It's spectacular, and I'm super happy with what I've done so far, and yours looks great. And
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Okay.
all right.
We'll see what happens. It actually even felt good I store my cross stitch in a drawer, to take it out of the drawer and look at it again. And
You know, maybe having it just putting it over your couch or having it visible. Sometimes I find like I have just a couch in this main room, and whatever I'm working on, I just have that linen out over the back of the couch. And so I see it, I'll be like, tonight, I'm just gonna pick this up. So it's out, and then I have my project bags with the patterns and the floss just by the side.
yeah, maybe I'll do that this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Great. So are we at our thumbs up?
we are.
Why don't you go first this
Okay,
time?
I'll go first. All right, so my 3 thumbs up. First of all, we've talked a little bit about, but I'm going to be gone for about 7 weeks, and part of that time is I'm going to be living in a fairly small van. And I'm thinking, okay, how can I have enough light? I put on magnifying or glasses for that, and I don't need like a bright light, but I'm like, oh my gosh, can I use my camping headlight? And this works so great. So if you have a camping headlight at home, give it a go. I've been stitching the last couple of nights, and then I can stitch anywhere in my house. I've got my little camping headlight, and it's zooming right down the fabric. So
Just remember when you talk to your husband.
I know when you look up.
That's how I read
and
at
they're
night,
like,
and when I kiss my husband goodnight, I'm always like,
Yeah. Oh, you use a camping headlight
to read at night. Mhm.
Okay.
It works well for
try
when you-
stitching. So I'm all into this right now, getting ready for my trip and at home. Next thing I'm all into, big thumbs up, is the YouTube chapters features. I used it in the last video. It's so easy to use. And if you've noticed, you can scroll now really easily and find our segments in the video. If you watch it on a television, like at least my television, I can up arrow, and then it will go right from segment to segment. So I feel like it adds a lot of good usability if you want to go back and find something. If you are a floss tuber and you want to figure out how to use this technique, just look in our description box and you'll see it. It's obvious. And I'll also link in the show notes. I watched like a 1.5 minute video that YouTube put out that told me how to do it.
Yeah,
Super,
you do such a nice
straightforward.
job with the
So
formatting.
I feel like that adds some good user interface design for you all. And then lastly, big thumbs up. One of my neighbors, we live in sort of like a planned community with mid-century modern houses, and when I walk the dog all around, they plant sunflowers every year.
I'll have to go see it after we finish filming.
It's a little bit further away in our neighborhood, so maybe every week or so as I do different routes, I walk by it.
Is it in the front yard or popping up?
No, in the front yard. And during the pandemic in 2020, that summer, they had big circles in their front yard of the sunflowers, and the giant ones. They've since planted 2 trees. I'm like, how are they going to do their sunflowers? And I walked by today, and they have a line of them behind the trees. And these are huge sunflowers. The flowers haven't come out, but the stalks are up. I'll put a picture here. And something about every time I walk by that house, it just makes me smile. So thumbs up, sunflowers.
Yeah. Okay, I'm
How
now
about you,
really
Anna?
curious.
Yeah.
All right, thumbs up for me. I like having access to a city. And that was, I've known this for a long time about myself, but our adventure, we had to drive, like Carolyn said, 45 minutes to hour to get to all of these places, but just the variety. And it's been so fun because sometimes one of our children lives in San Francisco, and that gives us another reason to pop up there and do neighborhood walks up there. Just the food and all the choices and the breeze up there.
It's a beautiful city.
It just,
Yeah.
The second thing is fresh cut flowers. Did my grocery shopping today. So these are my fresh cut flowers for the week. My husband and I used to move a lot, and sometimes I would feel a little lonely, and my mother would say to me on the phone, go to the library and get some flowers. Those were her 2 bits of advice.
But not go to the library and get flowers.
Yeah.
But go to the library
and get some
flowers.
fresh flowers for the house to just sort of lift the spirits a little bit. And that has stuck for me. And my last thing is I really enjoy text groups. Family text groups are a big, huge family. My husband's side of the family, my husband and me, our children, that family. And then my close girlfriends from different pockets of my life. Just the funny things people text, or just a way to keep connected, or an easy way to share visuals of something. Have you read this book? Or look at this beautiful thing I saw.
My high school friends, we have one, and we can be really dormant for like a month or two, and then somebody starts it up, and it's like
A little flurry.
Sometimes I'll come back to my desk after teaching this happened to you, and it's like 106 messages or something. You're like, okay, which thread's blowing up today?
Yeah. So I just been thinking about that recently, about how much joy that brings.
And photos.
And I was a person who didn't even want a phone back in the day. My husband was like, for the camera alone, just try one. And now Instagram, you push me in, like, you're going to like the connections on Instagram, Anna, you know? So I feel the same way about texting.
Great. All right.
That's it.
So let's just give Joan again. Joan, thanks for being part of our episode today.
Thank you. And until next time, happy crafting.
And stay curious. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Bye.